Polar codes are used in mill-turn machines. Most mill-turn machines have limited X and Y axis travels. Therefore, most 3-axis milling operations have to be performed in polar mode in mill-turn machines. In polar mode, C-axis is used instead of Y-axis. Same Y-axis values are written in C-axis mode. Some controllers have their own polar mode functions. Fanuc, Mitsubishi, and Mazatrol controllers use G12.1 to activate polar mode and G13.1 to deactivate it. But some of the older versions use G112 or G122 for activation, and G113 or G123 for deactivation. Siemens controllers use transmit to activate polar mode and traf-off to deactivate it. Haas controllers use G112 to activate polar mode and G113 to deactivate it. There is no activation code for polar mode in Okuma. Instead, Okuma OSP controllers use G101, G102, G103 codes in polar mode instead of G01, G02, and G03 motion codes. WFL machines with cinemeric controllers have their own polar codes. They use Mitronon 10 to activate polar mode and Mitronoff to deactivate it. Let's check polar codes on this post-processor, which is prepared for a DMG Mori mill-turn machine with Fanuc control. Polar activation code is added inside Format Cutting Mode, Polar On command. As you can see, G12.1 is added here. Note that this polar command can be defined either at the top-level operation or directly inside the polar operation. Since there is a parent-child relationship between operations in the operation tree, there is no difference in usage. In this example, there is no format cutting mode, polar on command, defined in polar operation. Therefore, polar operation uses the top-level command, format cutting mode, polar on. You can quickly see in which operations the same named commands are defined. When the command you want to search for is active, press the blue button on the right. As you can see, format cutting mode polar on command is added in two operations, which are in bold letters. One at the top level, and the other in drilling operation, which is under polar operation. By clicking on them, you can quickly open the commands and see what is defined in them. Here, in drilling operation, nothing is defined inside format cutting mode, polar on command. This is because we use a special mode of Monospos developer named as parametric polar mode for drilling operations in polar mode. Therefore, we don't want to activate G12.1 for drilling operations. To learn more about parametric polar mode and how and where to use it, watch the related video. At the top-level operation, inside format cutting mode, polar on command, you can see that, just before G12.1, a positioning move is added as well. A special word, polar X, is used in this positioning move, and Y0 is added as well. Defining a special positioning move just before polar mode activation is important, since you cannot activate polar mode at home return point. Also note that printing the original X and Y values before activating the polar mode may cause axis travel error, therefore you cannot do that. By using this word, we calculate a new X coordinate, while the Y axis value is 0. Let's right-click on this word and see how it is created. As you can see, this word is created from custom polar X variable. Note that custom variables are user-defined variables. And here in the custom variable list, we can open polar X variable. As can be seen here, polar X is a formula variable. And the formula, which is used to calculate the value of polar X, is defined here. By using the X and Y coordinates of the first drilling point, we calculate a new X coordinate, while Y-axis value is 0. Let's now check polar mode deactivation. Polar deactivation code, G13.1, is added inside format cutting mode, polar off command. There is one more important thing about polar mode. You have to define a new, coordinate wide word, inside polar operation. This is because, in polar mode, the Y coordinates should be printed in the NC program, like C-axis values. Although you write the same Y values, you have to use C letter instead of Y at the beginning. Therefore, in this word, C has been added to the beginning of the word format, before the number character. Next, you have to define new format linear and rapid motion commands for polar mode. Here, in these commands, you only have to delete the coordinate rotary axis 1 word, since writing C axis values inside G12.1 mode will return an error.